ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso.
I also think that the human constructs that are these schools of thought, be it Judaism, be it Islam, be it Christianity, these are the arts, or these are the vehicles that basically hold human knowledge, about subjective experiences when nobody was telling me, about subjective experience as opposed to objective. One thing I'll share with you is a time that a friend of mine, I had Bell's palsy, and she was telling me about her cousin who had experienced Bell's palsy. And the very same day that I spoke to him, I saw him in a dream the very same night. I was able to tell him what he had on the next day. I was able to tell him how tall he was. He was like, "Why didn't you come to the job?" I was like, "I wasn't there." He was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, I saw you in the dream. I knew everything from head to toe. Never met him." So I do think that there's things to us that we have yet to experience, but we don't experience due to how we treat one another, and due to the things that we incur as far as calamity is concerned. When we lean all the way to the negative, you know what I'm saying? And when I was talking about a higher power or our eternal parent representing itself in a frequency, and so therefore, from what we understand, like as far as philosophy, as far as the balance of the universe, yes, if you take the time to actually sit still, breathe, drink some water, play some music or whatever the case may be, and realize the stillness that is around you, and as you're breathing, as your body is breathing, you know what I'm saying, there is peace. The only thing that can disturb that peace is possibly somebody else doing whatever they ain't supposed to be doing, or whatever's going on, or unless you're practicing divination and you're conjuring forces and you got some stuff going on in your room. Now, I've never practiced divination. I'm not going to say that when those things do happen, that these forces don't exist. I haven't practiced them. I can neither confirm nor deny. You know what I'm saying? But from what
let me stop you for one second, bro.
Go ahead.
1 second.
Go ahead, bro. Okay, let me see. Got it. All right. As I was saying that the minds that we have right now at this particular point in time, in 2021, on the same planet as every other human being before us, our minds are not of the minds that were back then. We don't, them people didn't have TV, they didn't have radio, and so therefore, whatever depths of mind that they had encountered, be it through civilizations conquering other civilizations and assimilating that knowledge, to rename deities or to demote other deities, to raise deities, and basically acknowledge which deity was above another, or taking other attributes of other deities and forming them into one deity. And basically, I was looking for words that describe that process, and I was looking at something by H.G. Wells, and the word theocracia came up, and I was like, all right, that's what I'm talking about. Because what I like to do is I like to give identification or find the words that a lot of us, we happen to speak the definitions of things, and we don't know that there might be a term that we can refer to that gives validation to the definitions we may be talking about, but unaware of a particular word that will describe what we're talking about. And I actually did that in the group just about like maybe 2 o'clock. And I was telling DMG, I said, I do my research. And so I think when we were talking earlier, we were talking about like the problem of evil and why is that allowed? And the word for that is theodicy. The word for that is theodicy, and I'm gonna give the definition of it. Let me go back to the group, because I think it's very important that we basically lift the hood and get into the mechanics of the infrastructure that is religion, or basically and its dogmas,
Let me
because
ask you
there's a
this,
lot of. Go ahead, brother.
Before you continue, what do you believe in? Are you an atheist, or are you committed spirituality, or are you Pan-African, or are you Arab? What you believe in?
I've just recently labeled myself an irreligious heterodox. I don't have any religion. Basically, I don't conform with standard norms of religion. Like, I basically
agnostic, atheist. Which one?
I wouldn't say that. I do acknowledge a higher power. I do acknowledge an eternal parent. I do acknowledge that. I'll say a frequency based on based on my studies. And my theory is that I think that there is an underlying force or frequency that constitutes everything in existence, be it sound, be it light, and we're just forms of it.
Okay. So if you had to pick a spiritual belief, I mean, not saying that you agree with everything that it teaches, but a category that you would fall up under, which one would you say?
Could that fall under agnosticism?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but not really, because you know there's a God, so you're not really balanced. You're not really wondering if it is a higher power. You like the rest of us. We already know it's a higher power, so you're not really agnostic. I was just trying to see what is the term, but no, you can just be unique, bro, in your beliefs. You know what I'm saying? You might not fall under a category, so I ain't gonna place you under one.
I mean, even my name is one of the names of Allah, but I'm not Muslim. A lot of people might say, right. Oh well, reason why I'm challenging Christianity because you Muslim. No, because I know that Muslims were taught by Christians. They basically coexisted.
Right. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For a very long time, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, or they just overlook it.
You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the ancient texts, or the sacred writing, the sacred literature, or scripture, what have you, I was reading that basically the criteria for this literature is to basically remind man of his first self, and that's his spiritual self, as opposed to his physical self. So it's like, it's like a knowledge of self type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm very big on self-mastery. I'm very big on holding oneself accountable for their actions, and basically treating one another with respect and compassion. Because you got a lot of people that say it, as far as hold on, sorry about that. You have some people that will talk about respect, and we have to respect one another. You know what I'm saying? We coexist every day. You know what I'm saying? We share relationships with air. We share a relationship with water. We share a relationship with light, and we share a relationship with sound. And these are the things that constitute our being every day until we pass away, until this physical form passes away.
I had to drop a bomb for that. So, Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, Pianki Patah Motu Nefer Amon Ra. And we back with another powerful show. This is the Bill Session with your brother, Pianki. My little bro, Nobody. and we have a brother who I've been itching to get on this program. But before I have him introduce himself to you, the audience, I'm gonna do my usual spiel. Let me say hotel to my fellow Kemetic brothers and sisters. Let me say God bless to my Christian brothers and sisters. Let me say shalom to my Israelite brothers and sisters. Let me say peace to my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, you know, them God bodies. Let me say assalamu alaikum to my brothers and sisters in the NOI. And let me say Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. And let me say Jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. You know that I say that statement because if you're Black, I'm with you, and I hope that you're with me. We can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable, and we can have unity without uniformity. Our disagreements shouldn't keep us from uniting. And with that,
Facts.
brother, introduce yourself to the Paradigm Shift TV 314 audience. Let's get this build on.
Peace, everyone. My name is Raheem, aka Ra. I classify myself as an irreligious heterodox. Life is the religion. We live, breathe, and do a lot of things that are religious. We do them religiously. We don't necessarily have to, the books that we've been given. We can look at them as literature and see what these books are exposing of the human mind, and basically to tell us about ourselves and about other people's experience with nature, divination, or experiences that we're not having right now in 2021. There are some people who are probably listening right now who have experienced what we're going to talk about, and so therefore we're just probably going to give some labels, some terminologies to what these things are, because just recently I came across a book that basically gives some gives terminologies to a lot of things that we might talk about that we might not think there is a word for, but when it comes to magic and you have a word to cast a spell, you know what I'm saying, for conjuring purposes, it brings it into existence.
There it is. There it is. So, like I said, I've been itching to get this brother on the show. The brother been dropping some jewels on me for months now. Been getting to know him in the back chat groups that we've got established amongst ourselves, and the brother always dropping wisdom on me. Y'all know my little bro, my co-host. Why you being so quiet? Nobody speak your speech.
I was just taking in the information because y'all already know me, man. I go by the name of Nobody. Always trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody, and that is Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. Y'all know my boy Ra. We call him Raheem inside the messenger group that we all in, man. And like Brother Pianchi has said, man, he coming at every single day since he's been added. And he's willing to conversate, chat, and as you see, he's willing to come on the show. And y'all know that we appreciate that more than anything, man. Nice having you on, Rob, bro.
I appreciate it, man. It's just it's unexpected. You guys are telling me that y'all want to be on the show, but I didn't think it was gonna be so soon or tonight. But I'm glad to be here.
Hey, this man,
was anytime.
This was very spontaneous and spur of the moment. We just building. That's why I called it the build, or the build session, as y'all seen previous times. And so we just building with the brother. One thing that we kind of have like an open dialogue about, and I wanted to touch on, was the fact that when it comes to spiritual elements of this existence, we tend to limit them to the Abrahamic faith. And for whatever reason, that seems to be our reference point to spirituality. But as we know, there are many elements to spirituality and spiritual existences, whether it's African spirituality, Hinduism, the Japanese Shinto, or Shinto, whatever you want to call it. There are many elements to spirituality that exists in this world. And so I wanted to touch on the fact that I've had many spiritual experiences in my life that I can't necessarily explain from a rational standpoint, as some would say. But I've had premonitions where I would see events play out, and then later these events would come to fruition, and then I would be reminded of that particular time where I saw them play out. And I was telling the brothers off air that I would pull up to my grandmother's house and just, as I'm getting out of the car, I see a series of events play out, whether it be my uncle falling down the steps or my grandmother hurting her foot, and thinking I'm just tripping. Then these events would play out in the exact same way that I visualized, and I'm like, wait a minute, I saw that happen, and I would have to kind of have some recompense with the fact that I saw that play out, and people would say I had a premonition and that was a vision from God, etc. Speaking of the God of the Abrahamic faith, I've had experiences where I've heard conversations about myself, and when I talked to the people who had those conversations, it was confirmed that the very thing that I heard was what I heard, and they automatically thought that maybe somebody else had told me about the conversation, and then I had to tell them, no, I heard you actually having a conversation. I seen you having a conversation. And so, I was talking to the brothers about that, and in my estimation, it's not even a question of whether there is a spiritual element to this existence. In Kemetic spirituality, particularly in the Hanesu school of Kemetic spirituality, my teacher, Baba Seba, Maurice Neferu, and his teacher teaches that there is only one being in existence, and that we are that being having a human experience, and it don't even limit it to race. If you are a human being, you are that entity, you are that being having a human experience as yourself, right? You are the tree, is that being having a human experience as that tree, that blade of grass, the wind, etc. But there's only one being in existence. And so you have that aspect of thought, right? And then you have other spiritual aspects. And so I want to talk to these brothers about what spiritual, we know where nobody stands. I want to talk to the brother Ra about where he stands and how he would explain those things that I experienced, how the brother nobody would explain it, and where the line of demarcation occurs, and whether or not we can reconcile those things. We do want to express them to the audience and let you come to your own conclusions with regards to how you see these particular things. My brother Shabaka, of course, would say my mind was playing tricks on me, perhaps, or it's just a coincidence. But I tend to think we're not here by osmosis. It's something behind it, a creator, whatever the case may be. Now, whereas my brother nobody would believe that it's a creator that's divinely concerned about what we do as human beings and how we interact with each other. With regards to how we exist in this planet, I don't see that being the case. So we disagree on that, but we can talk about those things and other aspects of creation, spirituality, etc. as we go along. But I definitely want my brother to build on that particular topic. Go ahead, bro. It's on you. Unmute yourself. Let's get this build on.
Talking about
You
you,
gotta,
Ra.
yeah, you gotta unmute yourself. My bad.
There we go. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You you said two words. You said reconcile, and then you said another word, premonition. Um, in the back chat, there was another group that I was in. I think Let's Dialogue, and I think nobody was probably in that group as well. And it may have seemed to that I came off like, I don't think it was nobody, but I think it was I forget the other brother's name. And he has yet to call me. He hasn't called me yet. But one of the brothers that I did have a talk with, Byron, and I think
You probably thinking
by
about it wrong.
Jerome, yeah. And I'm never against my brother. I'm never against my brothers. I think that we shouldn't challenge one another because of the adversities that we face in this nation every day. It's just the ideologies, and I think that if we're not of one mind, if we're not of sound mind, if we're not if we're not meeting on if we're not meeting on certain levels as men, you know what I'm saying, and basically get into the ideologies that we hold to be true to basically skewer our view of our reality through, um, it can cause a bit of conflict because what we believe is intimately tied to our emotions. What we believe is, belief is highly psychological. So if anyone was to ask me, well, Rod, do you believe in God? I would sit there and say, no. Why would I believe in something that basically knows me? You know what I'm saying? This is supreme knowledge. This is the knowledge that basically constitute everything in existence. You know what I'm saying? Belief being possibly the first step, the initiatory step into a larger network of knowledge. And so therefore, um, when we're dealing with premonitions, when we're dealing with theophanies, and when I say theophany, it's along the lines of, let's say, for instance, when people go to, when we go to church, or, the pastor may say, or maybe the deacon or whatever, somebody may say, well, you know what, God told me to say this, and so a lot of people don't even know what that person is talking about. The word for that is a theophany. So it's like, Pastor, you had a theophany? I did that one time, and the pastor said, what's that? And I said, God ain't talk to you. You just pop and smack. And he was like, what? So I said, no, I'm just messing with you. So I'm just basically saying that there's words to describe what's going on. So when we're talking about oneness, and when we're talking about a construct, the word God in English, meaning that which is invoked. Now we're getting into a different aspect of what's going on here in religion that isn't often covered. We're often told that divination, or let's say, for instance, contacting the dead is wrong because this deity said so. Okay. And so the deity of the Abrahamic faith. But I kind of see that the deity of the Abrahamic faith, I see it as an instrumentality. I see it as a principle. Because that deity that they're talking about, the Tetragrammaton, or basically what's called Yahweh or Jehovah, we know that that's a Midianite deity. That's a Midianite deity, and so therefore, when we're reading in the text, when we're reading in scriptures, we know that Moses was introduced to this deity already being in Kemet. So when you have Paul in the New Testament talking about Moses was learned in all of the wisdom, you got to, you know what I'm saying? For me, I had to stop and analyze that. Because when we talk about wisdom, wisdom is feminine. And what would be the wisdom of Kemet? I associated that with Ma'at because
there you go.
I have to associate that with Ma'at because that was the goddess of truth and justice, the feminine aspect of divine being / God that isn't often talked about. You know what I'm saying? When another side to that is like, when we're reading when God breathed life into Adam, or that spirit went over the face of the waters. That's, for me, that's a code. That telling me that that spirit was the feminine aspect of God. You know what I'm saying? When we classify everything by the construct of the word or the principle that is God, that we basically ascribe as God, that basically a lot of people don't really deal with, because God is always given to you in masculine form, okay, or basically as an active principle. And basically what I'm getting into now, just to touch, is basically the aspects of Stoic philosophy, where you have an active principle and you have a passive principle, meaning both masculine and female, or basically what the logos is. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that word logos, right? Nobody?
Right.
Okay. And so these are the things that this literature is basically hinting to, if we're to read it with an open mind, or better yet, if we're going to believe it, we have to be able to ask questions for further understanding. And I say that because I was in the church at a very young age. I got kicked out at 6 years old because I saw the differences between Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. But there was a sister, her name was Sister Washington, and she told me, when I'm reading the Bible, she said, she actually quoted Paul when I think it's like something about the letter, for the letter killeth. And so therefore she was basically saying, what you're reading in English, it's basically just you're saying it's just a cover for the spirit to talk to you. Say a prayer first before you get into the word, and then pull out a spiritual meaning rather than what you're reading in English. And I think that was some of the best advice that she could have given me at that particular point in time, that basically helped me view things in a totally different manner that some might not agree with, but it agrees. It agrees. It agrees with me.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? My experience with it, as far as, when we talk about scripture being the word, you know what I'm saying? I did my research and found that when we say word, that English word comes from the Greek word logos, meaning reason or discourse. And so when we get into the aspect that is the Bible, that's talking about, God's interaction with the universe, constituting the universe, speaking things into existence and formulating man, you know what I'm saying, that image thereof, which I basically found a word called synderesis, which basically which is also described as the divine spark within man that constitutes his moral actions and righteousness. And so it's these things that have given me a clue about what we're all connected to, because we can't see without light, and we cannot speak without sound. And these are two primordial essences that exist within our reality, that basically give us rhyme and reason to our existence.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up my yacht, because when we was talking offline, and we were trying to find, I mean, I know you have your own term for what you believe, but when I was asking you like which category would you fall up under, you bringing up my yacht, I kind of get it now. It's more nature based than anything else, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all good. Of course, to me, I would explain God and the things that we go through and things like that, according to the biblical sense. God is not everything. For example, the Bible teaches that God is invisible. He spoke things into existence. So it's not like God is one thing and everything that we see is like, let's say God took this from his side and took this from his arm and took this from his, and every single thing that we see is made up of God. Well, the biblical sense would teach it that, for example, let's say the person that made a computer or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he's not inside the computer, or he or she or whatever is not inside the computer changing the numbers and the letters on the screen. The person that made the computer is outside of the computer. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the biblical guide and the way that it is explained through the Bible, we see God in a way where, like, of course, he can operate in his creation, but he
Mm-hmm.
has to be outside of his creation, just like we are on Earth. Like, just say Pianki or somebody. Let's say when Pianki create his poems are coming from his thoughts, but when he write them down on a piece of paper, he's outside of that piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? He's not, on that piece of paper making the particles go left, go, I'm just saying go right. So when it comes to the biblical God again, and based off what we do see inside reality, Ford brothers, when they make cars, we may see their name on the car, but they are not in the car making the brake stop, making the steering wheel turn. So based off of that reality, we've come to the conclusion based off the text of the Bible that God has to be that same way, because that's what we see happening in reality as in our everyday life. So that's the way I would kind of put that
Okay.
based off of what Pianki was saying.
So when you say speaking things into existence, like for instance, what comes to my mind from Kemet, when I was basically trying to understand what deific utterance is. In Kemet, you had the deity who, that was basically the give me a sec. Thank you. Who was basically the deification of the first word or creative utterance. And so therefore, when we have in the Old Testament, and when it says where God said, "Let there be light," could we say that this essence, this being, was outside of what it commanded?
Right. Yeah, I
Because
would say so.
so basically the deity was outside of the darkness and the light that had already been there. It didn't constitute that.
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
Yeah. I would say that he would be outside of both the dark and the light. But let's say like a blank canvas. How like a canvas is blank until you put something on it. So God being ready to create the universe, that was the blank canvas. That's like nothing on the canvas. So let there be light was him actually creating on the canvas, not that God was submerged inside of that darkness. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So basically the light was something separate from that which that basically commanded it.
Right. Yeah. Separate. Yeah. From what commanded it. Yeah.
Okay. I could dig that cosmological. I could dig that
Right.
cosmological manifestation. I can dig that.
This is the only reason why I would say that. Only reason why I would say that is because let's say according to the biblical sense, we just speaking hypothetically. According to the biblical sense, we know that heaven existed before earth, right? So God making the heavens and earth and all that stuff, he would have to already been somewhere and then creating the universe somewhere else. You get what I'm saying? Since God don't live on earth with us.
So God is like Dr. Manhattan.
What you mean by that? What you mean by that?
Okay.
He might not be familiar with
yeah, I'm not.
with the Watchmen, so you got to break it down, bro.
Okay, all right, check it out. All right, in the Watchmen, and I'll just make these references because in the things that we view as far as movies, science fiction, we get like little people drop little hints here and there. I'm gonna ask you: Have you also seen Guardians of the Galaxy, the second one? Did you see that?
No, I'm not big on sci-fi movies.
Okay, all right. Now, when I said Dr. Manhattan, basically we have this
real quick, bro. That was the dopest analysis I've heard in a long time between God and Dr. Manhattan. Go ahead.
Okay,
so I knew who that was.
All right, so basically Dr. Manhattan happened to be the scientist that got trapped in like I think nuclear particle reactor, whatever that is. And so therefore basically it enhanced him as a human. You know what I'm saying? He was a human, and once this whole situation happened, this dude existed in time, outside of time. He was everywhere, all at the same time, you know what I'm saying, constituting different things and stuff like that, or what have you. And so therefore, you know what I'm saying, and he wasn't separate from it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's basically why I was saying that. So, God is in his own realm doing things, you know what I'm saying, transcending, or let's say for instance, transmitting or radiating essences of himself into different galaxies and everything, stuff like that. But all these things exist all at the same time. Now I know the biblical text may not
right.
May not read
I get what you're saying too, though. I get what you're saying as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, like for instance, when it says that man was created in the likeness and image thereof, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, at that particular point in time, this is a being that is transferring its essence and information of itself into form. Now, this is the part where I kind of got like kicked out of Sunday school, because basically I was looking at the text. When I was reading the text, and according to how Sister Washington taught me, I was kind of looking at it symbolically, whereas who we are as spiritual beings first. Possess the... Yes, sir.
Man, okay, man. A 6, man. I don't know, man. I probably thinking about
I was born in 75. So in 1981, the sister that's teaching the class, she's in her 60s. So for her to hear a 6-year-old say, let's say for instance in Genesis chapter 2, where it said that the man didn't have a helpmeet to help him till the land, I said, man and woman was created in the same day in chapter 1. So she looked at chapter 2, saw what that was. She looked at chapter 1. And at that particular point in time, my grandmother was coming down the stairs and she said, Sister Thomas, Raheem has to go to the bathroom. So how this Sunday school teacher gonna lie on me after I had exposed this to her, because she probably never saw it before, and said I had to go to the bathroom. So my grandmother, just come on, baby.
You'll be surprised, bro. You'll be surprised on that. My mother, she's 59. She's finna be 60 this year. My mother don't, and this is no diss to my mama, but she been in church over half her life and my whole life. She couldn't even break down half I wouldn't say half, not even 10% of the stuff that I could break down from the Bible based off of, scholarship and understanding of literature, exegeting text and all that. And she's been in church her whole life, bro. So I feel you on that when it comes to, older women. I mean, not just women, but just people in the church, even in some of my churches that my family built, man, like there are people like my cousins and all that, they've been in church just as long as I have. Couldn't tell you more about the Bible outside of, let my people go, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't know none of the other stuff. They just know, let my,
Hello, somebody faded out. Hello.
You went out, bro. You still there?
Yeah, he went out. Yo, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, my bad. No, I was just agreeing with you on that point when you said about the older lady going to the restroom because she couldn't answer your question. I was saying, I know a bunch of people, that been going to church their whole life, and all they know is Noah, Moses let my people go, and Jesus died and rose again. They don't know nothing else outside of that.
No,
so
she didn't go to the restroom. She saw my grandmother coming down the stairs and said that I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you have to go to the restroom. Oh,
yeah. She lied on me. And then my grandmother was like, come on, baby, go to the bathroom. I'm like, Grandma, I don't have to go to the bathroom. And so when I came back, yeah, get me out of there. So, when I came back, the class was done. So at that particular point in time, at 6 years old, I'm gonna flash forward to I'm gonna flash forward 7 years to when I was 13. And so my mind began to ask questions like, why do we go to church every Sunday? Why is there why is there so many churches in the hood? And this is a classic question for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Why you got this? Why you got Baptists over here? You got Seventh-day Adventists over here. You got Episcopalian over there. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, I need to know. So, back in those days, they don't do it so much as now, but but every year they show the 10 Commandments. And I've been watching the 10 Commandments ever since I was 13. I'm 46 now. And you want to know what? I finally got what the 10 Commandments was about. I'll elaborate on that in a minute. Okay. And so what I did was, because now at that particular point in time at 13, I'm hip hop is big and stuff like that or whatever. And KRS-One had mentioned metaphysics. And that instantly drew my attention. So I was curious. I wanted to know. And so I'm sitting down at the table watching 10 Commandments. I got the Bible and trying to see if the script is going to follow the scripture. I got this dictionary. I got my dictionary, and at the back of the dictionary is Greek mythology and stuff like that, right? Because I was, growing up, I was into Greek mythology heavy because you have like Clash of the Titans and things like that or whatever. So I said, I said a prayer. I said, I said, I don't know what you are, who you are, but I know that people say that you exist. And so therefore, I'm going to ask for an explanation. I want to know what is going on in our reality, why I got to go to church every Sunday, why this, that, and the third. And basically, what happened was that at that particular point in time, I had the Bible in front of me. I had a big, thick Bible. Like, you know how you get the Bibles with the family tree in it?
Yeah.
The big, thick ones. Yeah.
Right.
So I had flipped the book. I had flipped it open, and it went to it talked about King Solomon, about one of the wisest men that had ever existed. But for some reason, he had a lot of women issues. So I said, as I'm reading, I'm like, you know what? Boom. I'd like to be like King Solomon. And so as time progressed on, I began to get into, Martin, so I found out about Martin Luther, found out about Protestantism, and found out the different schisms. And that basically broke down as to why we had so many different branches of Christianity in the hood and stuff like that. I'm in New York, and New York is also known as the city of churches, I believe. You know what I'm saying? And so, I have family in the church, and this is how I grew up. And as I've gotten older, I realized that, regardless as to what we see history-wise as to what religion has done or what people have done with religion as an instrumentality, you know what I'm saying, with all the triumphs and the tragedies, religion has been a way to archive the human experience and the human mind. You know what I'm saying? When we crack open the Quran, when we crack open the Bible and stuff like that, you couldn't have none of this literature without human beings writing this stuff down or experiencing certain things, or it just being a projection or a transfer of mind that a lot of people don't know how to process now. They need evidence. They need, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you pseudo for this, that, and the third, or what have you. But you know what I'm saying? Our experience as Black people, as African people, or however we have come to exist at this particular point in time, in 2021, our ancestors been dealing with nature. They've been dealing with spirituality. They've been dealing with aspects of the mind, and they've been dealing with divination for a very long time. especially us who are melanated, that can process sunlight into vitamin D. If we can process sunlight into vitamin D, that's cosmic energy. That's radiation. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, we're privy to a universal frequency. And so therefore, we are responsible for the positive and the negative outcome of which we have been bestowed in our existence on this planet right about now, that there are people who will remain unnamed, know how to manipulate, because we're so susceptible emotionally to our experiences.
Right.
And basically it's been causing friction between us, especially when we've been assimilated into America. And if we're looking at America for what it is, as a factory, you know what I'm saying, that basically monitors human action, things like that, or whatever. When we watching the news, we're not watching Yogi Bear, we're not watching aliens, we're not watching nothing on a different planet. We're watching ourselves act, you know what I'm saying, act crazy, you know what I'm saying, and in our daily lives, and we got other humans monitoring that.
Right.
Monitoring that energy.
But we got to also notice too, it ain't just a black thing per se, because
no
other races
everybody,
out there acting crazy too. Right.
Everybody's jacking up. Everybody's jacking up.
Because look at what's going on in Afghanistan right now. They shooting their own people, busting their own heads. They acting crazy, like you said. So it is a positive and negative. Some could call it energy. I would rather say spirit, but it is positive and negative spirits. You know what I'm saying? And of course, when we look at the Bible, the Bible don't hide that. The Bible don't even hide from other gods. It's just let it be known that God is the most high God. So like when it comes to like different, what some would say energies, or what I would call spirits, there is no denying that. You know what I'm saying? And when we look at reality, we can see that it can be something as simple as two twins, same mama, same daddy. One of them act this way, another one act a totally different way. A group of people raised in the same area. A few of them go off to college or do what they do and become successful. The others may stay in the hood and become chaotic and hurt each other. So it's not really as you already agreed to, it's not really an individual thing per se, or a skin color thing per se, or a location. Like you said, it's pretty much human nature, and what's true is true objectively, and what's false is false objectively. And when we meet people who come with oh, this is my truth and that's your truth, we can pretty much kind of dismiss those type of ideologies, because there's no such thing as your truth and my truth. 1 + 1 = 2 for everybody. A comes before B for everybody. Now, if you don't know how to count, you may not understand why 1 + 1 = 2, but you can say that 1 + 1 = 2 is just my truth, because 1 + 1 = 2, period, even if you don't know how to count. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. One plus itself is gonna equal to 1 plus itself 2 more times is gonna be 3. But it still stemmed from that one.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So like when we talk about human nature, so if we're going to say human nature, are we talking about human nature as the organism, or are we talking about human nature in the image that are we talking about human nature from the image that man was created in? What are we talking about?
What?
Okay, I'm gonna ask the question again. I was saying that when we talk about human nature, are we talking about the nature of the organism that the spirit, the image that the image is giving life to? Because the image being the animating principle of the organism. So when we say human nature, is human nature separate from the image that man was initially created in as a spirit?
No, no,
Stemming.
no. That's a good question. Let me see. Is it separate? No, I wouldn't say that human nature is separated from the original image of God that we were created in, because us being created, and I'm using, I'm coming from the biblical worldview. Um, I I would say no, because when God put the tree in the garden, right? Even though Adam was created in his nature, I mean, in his image, Adam still had free will to choose whether to obey or disobey the creator, the creator that he's created in the image of. So I would say that no, human nature is not outside of the image that we are created in.
Okay, okay, okay. So um, now when we're talking about free will, was Adam also free to be ignorant as well?
Was he free to be ignorant? I would say yeah. I mean, if he chose to, yeah. I mean, I feel like he could have did whatever he wanted to. Yeah.
Okay, so reason why I say that, you got to look at how the narrative is being constructed. You got to look at what's being you got to look at what's being presented to you. And when we put the when we're interpreting what we're being shown, because it's only, how can I put it? It's only constructed to it's only constructed for a certain type of rationale to pull out of it. To pull out of it. Okay, I don't know if you ever saw Philo's understanding of that, and I'll show it to you. But when we look at, let's say, for instance, Adam as a projection, as a projection from that which created him, you know what I'm saying, and given instructions, these divine instructions, and this is where I'm going with that. Um, the image that we're created in happens to also be the divine instructions, or you know how they say, faith, you're saying you have to have faith in your heart, this, that, and the third. A lot of people don't know that's what's called infused virtue. And infused virtue constitutes that. This is something that, like, you get a lot of people that say, oh, well, you just got to have faith. You got to have faith. How am I have faith? Is me having faith like my toe? Is me having faith like my ear or my head? What are you talking about? Like, faith is intangible. What do you mean having faith? So when we look up the definition of that, we see that faith also means trust. We also see faith meaning confidence in something that transcends you, but also constitutes you as well. You understand what I'm saying? Like, for
Yeah, faith in
instance,
yourself.
Atum, the deity Atum, which was an androgynous deity, and basically created man from his tears, both male and female, from his tears. So we see the interaction. We see the interaction of water constituting man, the same way we see the deity in the Old Testament, basically breathing life into man from basically the waters of the earth. You feel what I'm
Right.
saying? So in comparison with these stories, these stories basically were the projection of understanding of man and his relationship with nature.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I want to speak on the point that you had said when you was asking me, um, did Adam have the have the option to be ignorant, to choose to be ignorant or not. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now as we see, it depends on ignorant to what, because Adam wasn't dumb at all. As we see, he was able to till the ground. He was able to name the animals. He was able to do all these things. Now, the only thing that he was ignorant of was the knowledge of good and evil. And what that is the punishment for the wrongdoing that he would do, because as we see in the Bible, God said he made everything and everything was good. So Adam already knew what good was. Everything that was happening to him, so fact as him being able to, again,
Mm-hmm.
name the animals and be in the garden and eat from the trees and all that. He knew what good was. Um, he didn't know the consequences of evil. So when it comes to the ignorant part that she was
Mm-hmm.
mentioning, he wasn't ignorant as in the fact of like not knowing nothing. Like he knew what the sun was, he knew what trees was, he knew, he could add all that, but he was ignorant of the knowledge of good and evil, and that was for good reason. But to answer your question, did he have the option to choose to do it or not? Of course, we see he had the option because what he do, he went to go bite the tree anyway. So of course he had the option. You know what I'm saying? So I just want
No,
to touch on
okay,
that.
okay. Um, you don't think the deity set him up?
No, no.
Okay.
I think what happened is kind of it's kind of like a parent. The parent saying, "Hey, that stove is hot. Don't touch that stove. Don't touch
Oh,
that stove." And
okay.
when I
So,
turn my back, and when I turn my back, you touch that stove and you burn your hand, and now you hollering and yelling. Now the parent got to look back and be like, "Hey, let me see what's going on. Let me fix it up. Let me make it
oh,
better," and all this,
okay.
because
So curiosity is part of free will too.
yeah, right, definitely, yeah.
Okay. So would you say that Adam, in the form of the image of the Creator, acted on his own volition, or did he, or did he abuse? Okay, did he abuse the consciousness that was bestowed upon him? You'll
I,
say because the tree of good and evil had everything to do with morality.
right. So now uh, I would agree with what you said on the first half of it, and this is the only reason why, because the reason why God didn't set him up, because God told him what would happen if he do it. Now it would have been a setup if God didn't let him know, or if God didn't, what I'm saying, give him the inkling. God told him, hey, if you do this, this is gonna happen. You see what I'm saying? So just off that, I don't think it was a setup, but Adam Adam doing it, like you said, based off curiosity being a part of free will. If we notice when Adam did it, God didn't like, like kill Adam or nothing right then, because it was an option, like you said. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was an option. You know what I'm saying?
So when you say Adam, is that including Eve or just Adam himself?
Well, I'm saying Adam, but since you said that question, no, right, no, it's Adam, because if you notice when Eve ate from the tree, nothing happened because God didn't give Eve that command. He only gave it to Adam. So it wasn't until Adam bit from the tree when all the stuff, all the sin came into the world and all that stuff.
Well, he bit into the tree because his better
Better
because
have,
his
gave it
better
to him.
half gave it to him, right?
Right. That's right.
Okay, right. So all right. So now, mind you, isn't there a passage that say in that day their name would be called Adam?
And that no, it ain't no passage that says that.
We're gonna have to get into that offline because I don't have a Bible on me right now.
Yeah.
But but
In Genesis, I know verse that say in that day they will be called Adam. Now that's not in there, not in
okay,
Genesis.
okay, all right. No, but I'm bringing all this, up to say that when we look at divine command, or what they call deontology,
Okay.
um it's these, you know what I'm saying, it's these divine commands that basically causes us to function, that basically causes us to make choices, you know what I'm saying, make good choices, bad choices, you know what I'm saying, in order for us to function day to day. You understand what I'm saying? And then you have people who neglect that ability to do the right thing based on the circumstances. You know what I'm saying? Because people gotta survive, people gotta do what they gotta do, and you understand what I'm saying? Or however the chemistry of the body processes the energy or the spirit, the life force that's within it. And so therefore I say that to say that that story is also telling us about the divine commands that basically that basically is transmitted to us through a through the animating principle of the body that's called the spirit, and that's called the spirit or the soul, or in Kemet, what we'll say is the Ka and the Ba. Is DMG on there? Because I know he know a little bit. He's a whole lot.
He just left off because his grandson
Left
woke
out.
up.
Okay, cool, cool. I don't want to, because I know there's people listening, so I don't want to, the things that people hold very, very true, and I don't want to offend them.
Oh, right.
You feel what I'm saying?
But then again, this is paradigm shift, and bro, give your spiel, man. Whoever don't like it, they don't like it. That's on them. Tell them come on the show. Tell them come on the show and challenge you. That's the same thing I do now. Because first off, you're not talking lies. You speaking the truth from your perspective, and you stand on that. Same thing I do. And I'm pretty sure you've been following the channel. People call me out all the time, and if you notice, I don't be meaning to try to offend nobody. But if I'm saying 1 + 1 is 2, and you saying that's not, and you want to challenge me on that, let's talk about it.
Right.
So,
so again, here we go. When people are choosing to call you out your name because they disagree with you, you know what I'm saying? I'm very much open-minded. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, I can entertain certain things. You know what I'm saying? And then therefore, I can be a bit objective and show you. You know what I'm saying? And show you otherwise as to why I might say this, that, and this. Why I say this, that, and the third. Why I might take this stance on it. But it's never. You know what I'm saying? It's never to offend anybody. But it's just to give just a different perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as far as information is concerned, and so in those first two chapters of Genesis, I kind of see it as an understanding of self and the consequences of disobedience. But basically, that's not what you're saying. But that's not what they got in trouble for, as far as disobeying a command. From what I was reading, from what I understand, your man Augustine said that it didn't have anything to do with disobedience; it had everything to do with concupiscence.
I would disagree with that, because as we see, just reading the first 2 chapters, like you said, God told them, "Do not touch the tree." So and they touched it. So that's disobedience. I mean,
but I'll tell you this, that basically that story, like as things were edited, you dig what I'm saying? Things are edited and put together. I can tell you that there's different parts of that story. You know what I'm saying? Whereas it had been, it was cut out. I can't do it right now, but I'll show you.
Believe me. I've heard it, man. I've been doing Christian apologetics for like what, 14 years now. Oh, believe me, I done heard the different positions. I mean, even some Christians that believe the Bible hold different positions from Genesis 1 and 2. So what you're saying is it's not new to me. It's not new to me at all. But I do want to ask you this. But
go ahead.
Based off how you breaking down the Bible and how you understand it, do you believe the Bible is true?
According the Bible is true to what?
I'm saying just the information that's in it. Do you believe that it's true? That it's accurate information?
I feel that you could pull truth out of it, but is it true to a degree? Reason why I'm going to say no is because we know snakes don't talk. We know
the supernatural stuff.
Right. Either be them supernatural or be them just, let's say for instance, since the Bible is Jewish, is of the genre that's Jewish apocalyptic literature.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The literature is meant to reveal certain things. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're versed in how to interpret these things, you know what I'm saying? Or whether or not, because you have some people that are going to take from it what they can in how it's been presented to them. And then therefore they'll feel some type of way that, oh, that stuff ain't true. That didn't happen. Don't know, you know what I'm saying? Don't know donkey talk or whatever case may be, or all the stuff that's going on in there. So we have to understand what we're reading from a literary standpoint as far as literature is concerned. As an apologist, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the Bible as literature,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
therefore, go ahead. What you gonna say?
No, I was saying. Oh yeah, I have heard of that. Yeah.
Right. And so I kind of think that the way that we have been taught how to engage the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? I think that the way that we've been taught to engage it is, you know what I'm saying? Like I said before, it's been filtered through the religious institutions and how they prefer it to be and how they prefer it to be read. And so therefore, when our ancestors, you know what I'm saying, didn't understand what they were reading, they had no other choice but to take these things literally, because these people basically, how can I put it? Um, Not that our ancestors wasn't intelligent, they just didn't know how to read, you know what I'm saying, the literature in a way that it was presented. Because the simple fact of the matter is that if I have access to knowledge and I'm only showing you a quarter of the knowledge, then basically you're being cheated. You're being cheated. You understand what I'm saying? And so therefore, you know, at this particular point in time, we have to open ourselves up to further investigation to really see, you know what I'm saying, what that literature is relaying, be it from a literal standpoint or be it from an allegorical standpoint.
Right.
Because from what I understand, from what I've been reading, that, you know, the allegorical, you know, don't nobody want to deal with that, because the simple fact of the matter is that it's like it's too far left field. It really doesn't capture, you know what I'm saying, what you're reading literally, you know, in the moment or the time of the story that you know what I'm saying, or the time of the story that you're reading it. You know what I'm saying? Follow will say that Adam and Eve was a myth, and basically that, you know, Adam and Eve were basically products of the one mind that is God, because God too is also referred to as the mind, you know what I'm saying, or the nous. You know what I'm saying? Like when we get into like the Platonic aspects of the philosophy that basically Christianity too has also borrowed from. A
But
lot of
you know,
people don't.
but you know,
Go ahead.
a lot of that, is a new age, right? Like you know, a lot of the theories about the Bible that you just mentioned, a lot of that is new age things that were invented in the late 1800s. Beyond that, you don't hear anybody talking like that. You know, like we get that stuff from like Helen Blavatsky and Gerald Massey and those type of writers in they day, who was considered fringe writers. The people who were scholars at that time would consider what they were saying about the topics that you just mentioned on the Bible as fringe writers, people who were self-taught, who were not really in academia as well-known studiers or peer-reviewed writers. So a lot of the things that you had just said about the Bible, if we go beyond the 1800s, you don't hear anybody talking like that about the Bible. So that
Oh
stuff is
well,
new age.
I mean, if you haven't like, let's say for instance, if you haven't dealt with Neoplatonic philosophy, people such as Plotinus, and things of that nature, Christianity as a whole has basically borrowed or assimilated from you know what I'm saying, from those philosophies to explain certain things. Because the way that I see things, and I get what you're saying as far as New Age is concerned, because those people couldn't do what they were doing at that particular point in time if they didn't have access from it before, as far as those European people were coming from at that particular point in time. So like when we get into like the New Testament and you look up like, let's say for instance, the word breath coming from the Greek word pneuma, coming from the Hebrew word ruach. But when you look at pneuma and you see what pneuma says in Platonic philosophy, it gives it a whole different type of connotation. You know what I'm saying? As far as that understanding and basically the thought process that goes into, like what you say, as far as the Bible being true. I would say that the Bible is true to the extent of basically symbolically telling man about his connection to something that is greater than him, but it also gets into the truth of divination, of practices back then that basically this deity basically forbade. You understand what I'm saying? And so when we're reading the narratives about what this deity is saying don't do, you understand what I'm saying? You have somebody right now that's like, who recorded the deity saying that? I'm not experiencing that right about now. What is, you know what I'm saying? What is God actually, you know what I'm saying? What is God actually saying? You know what I'm saying? That basically I can't hear. And I usually tell a person, you know, when they say something like that, I say, well, the reason why you can hear is because of sound. And they're like, okay, well, what does that mean? I say, well, you have sound for a particular reason. And that reason being, or for lack of better connotation or association, has, you know what I'm saying, is due to a higher frequency that constitutes, you know, that constitute life in our reality. You know what I'm saying? Like when you say, like for instance, when we was basically just saying that God exists outside of the darkness and the light, but yet can't command it. You're one with that light. You're one with the light that was basically commanded to be. You're one with that. You're one with the image that you were basically created in. And so therefore, when we look at, you know what I'm saying, if we can look at what we're being told, what we're being shown, as opposed to, like, let's say for instance, the stories of David and Daniel and things like that, or what have you, what we're looking at is human interaction with for lack of a better term, I'm gonna say force. And that force has been that force, you know, that human interaction with that force is deemed God. And so therefore, when we go into the New Testament, when we see Yeshua being born of a virgin, you know what I'm saying, and God coming down, you know what I'm saying, impregnating Mary, what a lot of people don't know is that that's a theme in literature that's called Hyros Gamos, where a deity, you know what I'm saying, matter of fact, you had in the Old Testament, you had deities, you had the sons of God that came down and got with the daughters of men.
Right.
So we kind of got the same interaction here. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, I kind of, you know, the New Testament is kind of a reflection of the Old Testament. So, you know, basically, I'm just trying to point out, whereas as far as truth is concerned about our interaction with nature, the universe, or a higher intelligence, you know what I'm saying? I don't like to call it God because it's English. I don't like to give it that description. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, as a principle, as an ontological argument or first cause, yeah, I mean, you breathe in air. You know what I'm saying? You're breathing water in gaseous form. These things serve a particular purpose. You're one with that. And I think that if people can come to further realization of that which they're one with, you know, you can't be prone to be doing certain things, you know what I'm saying, in this life, because these things were set in place so that the human could conduct themselves in a much better fashion, especially as far as the purpose that religion serves in society.
Okay. Well, sure. I guess we'll get ready to end on that note, man. I don't know if DMG gonna be ready to pop back up in here, but bro, like, I don't want this to be your last time coming on the show, man. As you see, we just had a little nice open discussion, you know, just open topic building on certain points and all that, man. So before we close out, I want you to give any last words that you may want to tell the listening audience and let the people know where they can find you
at. I just want everybody to basically reevaluate their thought processes, and look at, you know what I'm saying, look at what we're going through as a people. You understand what I'm saying? I could sit here and say I'm gonna exclude white folk. We all have to coexist. I understand that there's a lot of things that have befallen us, but we perpetuate our reality. And if we keep going the way that we're going, regardless as to who's trying to do what or control certain things, we all have to love one another and be part of the frequency that is love, that loves us. And with that, you know what I'm saying, whether you want to call it God or you want to call it a force or whatever case may be, at the end of the day, man, listen, we wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, we couldn't be without the, you know what I'm saying, we wouldn't be without the eternal ancestor that gives all of us life.
That's what's up. That's peace. That's peace. As y'all can see, my brother has a lot of information and he is not afraid to share it with anybody. Definitely y'all, the listening audience for Paradigm Shift TV 314. He's not trying to offend anybody, but y'all know my stance. If you are offended by the truth, you either need to adjust to it or stay ignorant, man. That has been my brother Raheem. I am nobody. Always trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody, and that is Jesus the Christ. This has been Paradigm Shift TV 314, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode, and that's peace.
Peace, everybody.